When did you say, hey, I think I could make money doing this? Today on Business Under Fire, we're coming from Lubbock, Texas, from the Brick and Loft Realty podcast studio, which I want to thank them. This is the last podcast of 6 that I did here. And if we weren't for them, we wouldn't be able to have the guests that we had in Lubbock. And I've been trying to get a hold of this guest today, who is Dan Odom from Western Bank. So welcome, Dan.
Applause coming in the background there or what?
Good morning. This does have an applause thing. I just got to remember where it's at. But it does have an applause.
Yeah. Pump it up.
Yeah, baby. Just, we could do that as long as we want.
What are the other ones?
The other ones, they got music.
Yeah, now we're talking.
I like this intro, and you could download all kinds of stuff here. They have they got one that can beep out all of your stuff, which I like also. You can Bluetooth from this Rodecaster Pro 2, so I like to harass my kids. And then you could come in here and do whatever you want. We just started.
We just had an applause.
So yeah, we need another applause.
Morning, ladies.
And so you could do all kinds of things from this deal, but I like to prank call the kids.
From this?
Yeah, because you could Bluetooth your phone to it and then change the voices. And
let's call my wife.
well, it goes from this side, so we'll have to switch sides.
Even better.
But now we have a live studio audience from Western Bank, which gets a little interesting. I don't really get nervous now. I got nervous.
I told you they were coming.
I know.
We just wanted to snap some pictures.
Well, snap some pictures. We just got into...
I mean, snap some pictures and get out.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, and then...
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you great. So, but anyway, with Dan Odom from Western Bank, originally from the beautiful town of Gruver, Texas. And I wanted to run through, kind of your story and how you became the CEO of Western Bank, which really, at the time you took it over, wasn't... How many locations did y'all have when you took it over?
So we had six total locations. Big Spring, Abilene, Lorraine, Brownwood, Cahoma, and one in Lubbock. Is that 6?
I can't count that high.
Brownwood.
What, and then how many locations do y'all have now?
We have 10. Well, yeah, 10.
But even at the 10 locations, y'all have grown significantly in employee count, probably grown in revenue.
Yeah, for sure. Just to go back to the beginning, we started that would have been 2011. Do you want to go just the way back beginning?
Well, where are you now from where you started? And then we're going to take it all the way back to what happened in Gruver, how you got to where you're at.
So we started 170 million in total assets. Today, we're roughly 850 million, closing in on $1 billion.
And when you say assets, can you elaborate on what that means?
Yeah, so, it's a little bit different. You're looking at your personal financial sheet and, your assets are looking at it where, your cars, your home, your auto, your business, and those type things. A bank's assets are totally opposite. Our deposits are our liabilities because we're having to pay for those and do those type things, where our assets are the loans, securities, our buildings, things like that are earning assets. So it's the opposite of what you look at.
And so when you took over at Western Bank, y'all are right around 170 million. And now y'all are creeping up on $1 billion in assets. Yep. Holy shit.
In about 12 years.
That's insane.
It has been, it's been wild. It's why my hair's so curly.
So for those that don't know, we call him Curly Hair Dan. And we used to have one of the best things that I've seen, which kind of speaks to your group at Western, because y'all do have a good culture at Western. Everybody, for the most part, seems pretty happy. They participate. They believe in the brand. And this is all stuff that I want to go through in the next hour on how you guys promote that and do that. But One of the best things that I've seen, if y'all guys want to Facebook stalk Western Banker Dan, is on Dan's birthday, a bunch of the ladies in the crew got
Crew that
these.
was just here.
Yeah, got these curly haired wigs and showed up to work. Did you know they were going to do
I
that?
didn't. I had my daughter that day. My wife was out of town. Took my daughter to breakfast, did some things like that, and they kept calling me. And I was like, "What is going on at the bank? Like, I know it's not that big a deal. Birthday, we give everyone their day off." I was still coming to work, and I think Chris Coke called me. I was like, "Hey man, I need you to get up here and sign something." I'm like, "What?" And I had no clue. Walked into that mess, and they got me good on that one. Yeah,
It was
for sure.
so good. And the pictures are so great. It was probably 20 or 25 people with curly hair wigs on.
Imitating me, spot on too.
Oh, they were dressed like
Yeah,
you
they
too.
nailed it. Yeah. I don't know who came up with the idea, but yeah, kudos to them.
It was great. But I mean, that's what I want to get into the story of and let people know that it is possible if you do what Dan has done and push and run through on how you got from 170 million in assets to pushing to almost $1 billion. And as a CEO, you never get a pat on the back from anybody, do you?
Not at all.
And I want to tell you, awesome work. Congratulations. I mean, that is a huge, huge accomplishment to go from what you have done in 12 years. And the guys at the top, we never get a thank you or a great job. And from my perspective, watching what I've watched, knowing y'all for the past 7 or 8 years, badass job. It's been really awesome to watch.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's implied. You know, everyone, we're obviously family owned and those type of things. I know the family's very happy, and I mean, we also get along. You know, Thanksgiving, Christmas. If that wasn't happening, then we'd be in trouble. So.
You wouldn't get invited.
Yeah, right.
Well, take me back to the early days. Give us a little brief history on Western Bank, just so people know where it is and where it started.
Yeah, so Western Bank, it was founded in 1909. That's another thing that banks do. You know, their charter is a huge thing. Going back to it, our original charter out of Gruver was actually 1946, but this charter's out of Van Horn State Bank. That's when it was created. It was 1909. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's sold, changed hands, done those type of things and everything else. But this charter that was issued by the Department of Banking goes all the way back to 1909. Small little town in West Texas, way out there. So it's a pretty cool story, even from that aspect of where it comes from. But we're headquartered now here in Lubbock, Texas. We've got, you know, our loan operations, our deposit operations, our HR, finance, accounting, chief lending officer, chief credit officer, chief risk officer, our mortgage president that came on 2 years ago. We just created that company at the end of 2023. And so we're all here, but we spanned out over 440 miles, you know, all the way down to Brownwood, 3.5 hours south, to the tip of the Panhandle, Gruver, Texas, where I grew up, born and raised, and that's 3.5 hours north. And so from Brownwood to Gruver, 440 beautiful miles through Amarillo, Plainview, Lubbock, down to Big Spring, over to Abilene, and then connect into Brownwood.
That's a long way. Take us back to what happened and tell us a little bit about Gruver. That way people can understand that you didn't come from the big city of Dallas, Houston, oil money, none of that stuff. What's in Gruver?
Man, Gruver's farming and ranching. It's a great place. Hound ball. You know, it's you look back on it from when you're there growing up. You're like, man, this is terrible. I want to go to Amarillo. I want to go to the big city. I want to go do these things and everything else. And now you're looking back, that was the best place to be raised, born and raised. I mean, we could run around. Don't have to lock your car doors. Don't have to lock your house doors. Just walk into your friend's neighbor's house, you know, get in the fridge, do whatever. And people were just so welcoming. So it's great to get back there. 1,100 people, I think, probably still today. You went up there with me one day.
Yeah, Gruver's a neat place, and we were there, and it was time to have a beer or two. And you can't buy alcohol in Gruver. You can't even buy beer at the grocery store. So, well, is there a grocery store?
Grocery store, neighborhood.
Yeah, well, they I don't remember the
Neighbors, not neighborhood, neighborhoods.
Well, you can't even buy beer. So the way that you get a beer in Gruver, Texas, is you phone your friends and find out who has beer in their refrigerator in their garage, and then you go and whoever has it, you go steal a few beers from them with permission.
Yeah, with permission, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, graduated with roughly 30 kids. That was all the way back in 2000. But you play every sport. I mean, you grow up with your friends, and you know, my granddad, ever since I was born in '82, you know, he was down at the bank. My dad was down at the bank. Our family just basically, that was what we did. Farm, ranch, banking. And you just look back on that and you're like, the community and the involvement and those type things. And I think that's what's really propelled us to where we're today. We can get into that in a little bit. But I mean, just having that belief from when you're a toddler to, when you graduate, looking back in those things. So
what were you doing when you were 14 and 16? Did you start working in the bank?
Yeah, so 96, probably my 8th grade summer, going into high school. Got down there at 7:30 every morning. My granddad's sitting there looking through checks. I'm over on the proof machine, running those, doing those things. Then did the teller job. Got to get out and mow the lawn some. Pretty much a little bit of everything around there, So,
Dang.
yeah.
And you went, so you started, that was your first job?
Yeah.
And then you decided you went to Texas Tech.
Yep.
What did you get a degree in?
Marketing. So
You think that helped you for real world life, or do you think it was a good time to meet some of the people you met?
No, man. So I, came down here, business, finance, accounting degree. That's what we're going with. Had a good buddy of mine. It's like, hey, we should do marketing. Cute girls are over there. I'm like, You're right, they are. So that's where we went. And I got all C's in marketing. My finance and accounting classes, I had B's and A's in. So I wasn't the best student, I would say. I did more of the growing up part of the college deal and had a lot of fun.
Well, and then you get out of there, and did you think that and no discredit to Texas Tech at all, but did you think that the marketing program really prepared you for the marketing that you guys are doing today?
I mean, no, I would not say that. We did some projects in those courses. I think the marketing, and I think this universities and Texas Tech, we love. I mean, we have like 20 plus family members that have graduated from Texas Tech. So we're not going to hammer them at all.
Yeah.
The Red Raiders, horns down.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, the real life experience, I would say no on that side of it. But just growing up, my dad is also a banker at a different bank. We've seen the bankers are very cheap. It's like, oh, look, I got this pen for 10 cents or 2 cents, and I got this hat for $6. And so my whole thing getting in when I was able to be in charge of it is, no, spend $10 or $15 for a good hat that someone's going to wear. Get a good brand. Don't just have your normal. I mean, every bank has a star, it seems like. And that's what ours was before we changed it. But, I mean, like our belts. I mean, we can put our Circle W on anything, and it's propelled us like crazy. And my cousin is actually, he's a graphic designer out in California. He's the one that created this. And he sent me a deck of like 4 or 5 different logos. And we came back to this. And, our holding company, Circle I Bank Group, which was my granddad's cattle brand, was Circle I. And so the Circle W kind of fit right in with that. And, I mean, you've seen it.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. And it's simple and it's easy and people recognize it.
Yeah.
And we used to have it, the Circle W, Western Bank underneath. Now we've got it to where just the W, and people know that's Western Bank, and it's really cool.
Yeah, y'all do have great products, great marketing. There's stuff everywhere. Y'all are on cups, koozies, scoreboards.
I was playing in a little golf tournament last night. Another local banker asked me, he's like, "Is there anything you haven't put your logo on yet?" And I'm like, I don't think there is.
Who makes all the decisions on where those are going to go?
It's a team of us. We've grown. Back when it was first going, it was just me, kind of like, hey, we're putting this stuff up, doing this. We've got a great business development officer, Megan Catney. She's right next to me in my office, and I mean, she handles all the swag. Aubrey and Sydney. Aubrey was my assistant for 2.5 years, then she quit me. She said, hey, I want the marketing job. And I was like, all right, you're going to be the marketing director. So she graduated probably 4 or 5 years ago, and now she's our marketing director. We just hired Sydney Fry, who you just saw come in, or came in. That's my Gruver coming out there. But yeah, she's there. And so we've got now like a 3-person marketing, social media team, blitz, and everything else. And we're trying to focus on that. It's what you've done here with the podcast, what you see other Instagrams. We have folks, it's another hilarious story on that, but people come in and, hey, we want your business. How are y'all doing this? Because we've just made it natural, and it's not, big ads, things like that, and those type things. It's just what people are doing. The traveling hat, We have customers, I'll just get a random text from someone in Hawaii, and they're sending me that deal, or they're, top of whatever mountain they're on. And people are like, is that you? I'm like, no, that's not me. That's our customers out there. And that's the engagement that we've created and we love, because that's what I want. I was like, just, not a stuffy banker,
Well,
walk
and then-
into my office and let's talk.
And you gave them a nice product with a nice hat. The shirts are nice. Nice shirts. I don't wear any shirts, but Next Level cotton shirts. And I think y'all have the same thing. They're like the most comfortable. So there I am running around with my Western gear, and but it's the same thing with the hats. They're all nice.
I was going
hats
to wear a Western shirt today and totally screwed that.
Well, the good news is that the YouTube stuff on here is not crazy. The reels are.
Yeah.
They do get a lot of I forget the word, but they go a lot of places, and a lot of people listen to these things when they drive, and they're looking for inspiration from people that came from a tiny town that grew a business. And you could say, okay, I walked in at 170 million. That was a zero, right?
Yeah.
Now you're at $1 billion. And so that's the story that I want to punch through. And and I want, hopefully you send out some tidbits of information to these people on how they can do it. Because it wasn't, although you are a second or third generation banker.
Number 5.
But you're the one that has spearheaded the explosive growth in Western. And that's where I want to know where that came from. But one of the things that I noticed about you guys is when we're sitting there talking to you, doing stuff, you guys, a lot of bankers will go, oh, I need to go to the computer. I need to do this. I need to do that. And you guys can sit there on the calculator. Okay, all right, this works really well. And you were an auditor for the state of Texas before you worked at the bank and then you became an auditor. What did that teach you about banking?
A ton, actually. So, yeah, I worked for the Department of Banking as a bank examiner from 2006 to 2011. Got out of school, marketing degree, went straight into as a credit analyst at a bank in Amarillo, moved back to Lubbock, worked at a bank for about 6 months here. And then Chris Koch, who's our chief lending officer, he was working over at the Department of Banking. I'd worked for him in college at First Convenience Bank and Walmart, another little tidbit.
Why did you work at a different bank
What do you mean?
instead of just working at Western?
Well, because we didn't have Western. So Gruver State Bank was our family bank for generations. My granddad, my great uncle started that bank in 1946 with some local farmers, ranchers. Then my granddad came in like 1951, became CEO in 55, bought out everyone, bought 100% of the bank in 1982, the year I was born. And so we just had that one location. So it's like you're traveling 3.5 hours north if you want to go back and work for the family bank.
Yeah.
And so I got out of college, young, hungry, I'm going to go pave my own path and go back and work at the bank someday. Well, that obviously went on a different road. Went through bank in Amarillo for years, credit analyst, learned there. I'm ready to be a loan officer. So I moved back to Lubbock, was like a junior loan officer for Randy Jordan, who works for us now.
Yeah.
And then and there's a lot of connections, and that's what I would tell folks out here. I mean, I was 22, 21 years old when I got out of school, and, bounce up to Amarillo, still friends with those folks. They still send us business 25 years later, or 21 years, whatever the math is there. And then Randy Jordan, I worked for him at ABC Bank here in Lubbock for about 6 months. He wrote me a letter. I still have it sitting on my desk, and he's like, hey, wish you the best. You'll go be a great examiner at the Department of Banking. Who knows, maybe someday I'll be working for you.
Oh,
Fast
dang.
forward to 2016, he retires, and that's the first guy I called up out of retirement and was like, hey, I need some gray hair over here so that they don't just think it's a bunch of young folks. And so he's there with us now, and I think he was 70 at the time, no, 65. He's like, I'm going to retire when I'm 75 or 70, and now he's 75, and he's still with us. So
Well, don't tell Randy that one of the bankers down in Port A just retired at 88.
88. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Shout out to Francis Stokes, one of the nicest guys. But the banker guys, I don't know how long we're going to be here, but that's one of the other things that I notice about bankers is I feel like they genuinely enjoy their job.
For sure.
And they like it. They make a life out of it. They stay there for a long time. And, how do you, we're bouncing all over the place, but how do you promote that within, Western Bank?
To promote the people staying here?
Yeah, staying there, enjoying their job. They seem to
Because
get...
I mean, it's real simple. If you've ever sat in an interview with me, I tell people either halfway through or right at the beginning, or even at our onboardings when every month we have all our execs come in, all the new employees that got hired on the previous month sit in for a day. We go through, this is our chief credit officer, the chief lending officer, this is our general counsel, this is our CEO, this is our Lubbock president, and everyone gives a talk and talks about our culture and those type of things. And the thing I tell them all is, hey, if you're miserable, go be miserable somewhere else.
Yeah.
I don't want to be around miserable people. Life's way too short for that.
Yeah.
But we have too much fun, and it's, I've been in a miserable job, and working at one of these banks that I was at and those type things, and I was like, this is not community banking. This is not what I grew up in. We're not helping folks. We're just telling them, no, there is no vision, there is no course. And if you're going to be that type of person, and it may be because you don't like being a credit analyst, maybe you're more, or you don't like being a lender, you want to be more back office. And we've got a guy that's grown up with us right out of college who went from being a credit analyst to basically my lending assistant to, hey, you're going to go out and call loans. And he came back 6 weeks later and was like, I don't want to do that. Like, I can handle the customer from the backside, but I do not want to ask for business. And now he's our controller. And now he's about to be, promoted to our chief operations officer. And so he started at 22 years old. He's probably 32 now, somewhere in there, maybe a little older. But he's going to be our COO here in about 6 months. But that alone is, he's miserable. Let's find a job for you. And it's because, just be honest. But if you are miserable, then
go somewhere else.
And if you don't like banking, go somewhere else, because it's no good for you. It's no good for us. It's not good for the whole culture of the bank.
It's not at all.
And it's terrible. Like, and people when you see them when they're miserable, you're like,
it's no good.
Can I help you out, man?
Yeah.
Like
help them out the door.
And I'm not the person to have someone crying on my shoulder, but let's figure this out.
Nah, we've said the same thing. If you're not happy here, go somewhere else. This is what I have to offer. If you don't like it, you just got to get out of here, because
and it's no harm, no foul. Like, I want you to be happy wherever you're at. We're still friends, but do not
And it's infectious in the work environment too. One person running their mouth all day is not good.
No.
And they might be miserable. They're miserable everywhere for the most part. But
circle back though to the Department of Banking. I think we skipped that part there. But so went to the Department of Banking. Chris Koch came over and said, and this is back to the connections and those type things. Chris was like, hey, we have this job. I think I was working at Herring Bank in Amarillo at the time. And a lot of credit goes to my boss there, Andy, that taught me a whole ton of stuff like underwriting and those type things. I didn't know dilly squat coming out. Thought I did, nothing. But Chris and them they were examining a bank in Amarillo and like, hey, let's go have lunch. And he was always like, why aren't you, you came from banking. Why are you not over here working at the Department of Banking and learn it all? And talked to my granddad, talked to my dad, and they're like, yeah, you should go do that if you ever get the opportunity to do that. You will. Those folks that teaches you pretty much everything. So fast forward, I'm sitting at ABC Bank here with RJ, and Chris calls up and says, hey, we have a job opening. You should apply. So I go apply. This is where the marketing degree comes in again. My boss at the time, J.W. Holt, family knows him, everything else. He passed away a few years back, but he's like, yeah, you got to have, I think, 9 or 12 hours of accounting, and I only had 6. And I was like, man, I'm going to have to go back to school, get counting hours, whatever else. Well, they came up with some kind of pro forma degree deal that was like, you've been in banking since 96. You have this many years of experience. You worked through college in banking. You did this, that. Like, that's got to account for something. So somehow, I think they may have lowered it to 9 hours. I don't know. Regardless, got the job. That started in 2006. 2008, real estate crisis. I guess we back up to 2006, BSA had came out somewhere around there, the Bank Secrecy Act, where, we're fighting terrorists. I'm a terrorist fighter. But a lot of banks were going through issues with that, setting up those programs. So we harped on that for 2 years. And we're in and out of banks. I've got a map in my office. You've seen it with all the pins. Yeah. Whole state of Texas.
Oh, yeah.
I bet there's, 150, 200 banks on there.
He does have a map everywhere that you went. And
I put a dot in every time I get back every week, back in my little cubicle. Put a pin in, and everyone's like, why are you doing that? Because someday I'm going to hang that in my office of all the banks we examined.
Yeah.
And so you put a little pin in there, and you could see it. It's all over, all the way down to Houston, Galveston, places like that. But then 2008, the real estate crisis happened. And so you go in, everyone's, having issues with asset quality, and we're hammering on it. It's like,
dig into that for a second, because a lot of people on the podcast talk about 2008, and you were watching it from the back end.
Yeah.
So they're having a problem with asset quality at the banks. What's that mean?
So, say we got a commercial property that's worth $1 million. Well, the real estate crashed. So that property is no longer worth $1 million. Say at the time it's $1 million, you get 20% down, $800,000 loan on it. Fast forward, we come in, that loan's been on the books for 5 years. We're reviewing it. we're like, hey, we need to get a new appraisal on this, make sure the value's still there. Now it appraises for 750. The bank's upside down on the value of that property. Maybe it's running late on payments or things like that. And so the regulators start seeing those pop up and then start asking questions.
And what
about
are they doing at that point?
So then we classify them. So then you know, there's a pass credit, there's a watch list credit, there's a substandard, there's doubtful, and then there's like uncollectible, and you need to go charge this off. So we put those in categories, and that's how we evaluate the risk of an institution. You know, and if you've got 100 million in loans and 50 million of them are bad, well, you got 50%, you know, classified assets, and then you have a allowance that's over there. Well, the allowance isn't going to have $50 million in it to shore up that deal. And so that's what, you know, puts risk on the bank's capital, puts bank risk on the ownership, on the earnings, those type things, because then you put the loan on non-accrual, it's not earning interest. It's just a whole domino effect.
And
so
that was going on like crazy in 2000.
that was going on like, I mean, and it's not, and community bankers, I mean, there's bad people in every, you know, business, whatever. But community bankers, for the most part, all of us are, you know, hey, we're trying to make this work. We didn't go out and, you know, you evaluate the risk when you make the loan and those type things, but someone's not going to go give someone $800,000 and bet that, oh, I bet that goes bad.
Yeah.
That's not, and so, but then regulators, Monday morning quarterbacks, and I was always pro banker. I mean, I'm in there trying to help them out, like, guys, we need to figure out where this is, that is, whatever else. And, you know, then you have some that are like, nope, you just need to charge that off. And, you know, say, like, well, we're in brick and loft. A brick company goes bad. And they're like, yep, charge 100% loan off. And you're like, well, that brick is still worth something. Like, it's not just like a perishable item. So, like, how can you say it's not worth anything? You got to give a little credit. Those are, you know, I mean, some banks you're going into every 6 months because they're in bad shape and you're just trying to work out of it and dig out of it. And they, you know, get under a memorandum of understanding, which is an MOU. The point being, they get in trouble with those. Regulators hammering them. We're in there, and it's like 6 months. You know how fast it goes by now. And if you're in a bank that's having issues, and then you're like, you come back in 6 months, like, hey, did you get that fixed? And I'm like, hell no, I didn't get it fixed.
Yeah.
I still am like,
Yeah.
I'm just working through this other loan still. And then so you're just in there, and it's just a cycle. So 08 to probably 10, 11, somewhere in there is when banks started slowly getting out of it and everything. But I mean, and then some banks, you know, were still, they missed it. They weren't heavy on real estate or commercial real estate and those type things. So, but you go in and you see, and that's another thing culture wise. 150 banks that I've been into, you see, this is how this one works. This is where a whole bunch of miserable people are. This is a great atmosphere. This is a bank I want to work for.
How about the banks that you walk in and you can just hear crickets chirping?
You're like, this is going to be a fun week.
And that's like 90% of them.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You can, I mean, and that's the thing with banking. It's so old, and it's a great thing. But as generations come, we talk to, the young kids that we hire. I'm like, when's the first time you were in a bank? They're like, well, this interview. And I'm like, you've never been in a bank and you're 20 years old. And they're like, no, I've got a rent house. The girls, I'm teaching them how to write checks. They're like, how do I write a check? I'm like, you're 22 years old and you can't write a check? God. It's crazy. And they're like, well, you can't use Venmo. And I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right.
So you watched the savings and loan, the '08 crash from a inspector's perspective, and then that hopefully taught you we never want to go there.
No, yeah, it teaches you that for sure. And then the time, I wish you could go back, or I could go back and sit down more and be like, man, this is crazy what's really going on. From all the other bankers, the 88-year-old gentleman you mentioned, those type of things, he's sitting there saying like, yep, this is crazy. I think my granddad was always like, there's bad times, there's great times, but there's always a lot of good times in between.
Yeah.
That was one of those bad times, but people are going to come out of it. And I think that's what you've got to realize, like, yeah, as much as you may be down at one point, it's going to get better, or it should get better if you're working hard and trying to fix those things and everything else, and you just put your head in the sand,
Yeah.
And then there's obviously going to be a lot of good years, like where you're smooth, clicking along, and then there's, home run years. But, yeah, you see it. If I could go back now and really have paid probably more attention, I think it made me even better. And not to say that I'm the greatest or anything like that, but 100%.
Yeah.
You saw bad loans. You saw the time it takes from a leader of an institution or their team, and takes their focus off the growth and the ball and everything else. If you're having to deal with all that crap, and so keep it clean.
Don't you wish we would have paid attention to a little bit more shit as we were growing up?
Oh.
Knowing that we'd be in the position that we're in now.
Yeah, I never thought I'd be. Yeah, I mean, I obviously have a goal of being in the position I'm in, but yeah, if I would have if I got to put those two things together,
Yeah.
I think, you'd be a lot better off. But like, just like you have these dreams,
Yeah.
you don't look at that.
And I would say for people that are coming up and wanting to, even if they have big dreams to accomplish things, is keep your mind open, pay attention to a lot of stuff, because we miss it because we're so narrow-minded on what we're doing when we're younger, and now at over 40 or whatever, we start valuing self-education and all these lessons that we've learned.
All the stuff our parents told us to be doing, and we're like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, on all the growth that y'all been doing at Western, are you the one that's just been spearheading all of it and started
it's
coming?
all me, man. No, hell no.
Well, no, not. Are you the one that comes into the meeting and says, "All right, guys, here's my wild idea," or are other people coming in with you and saying, "Hey, we need to"? I mean, who starts looking for new?
So that's. I mean, let's do a little bit of that story. 2011. I'd gone off and gotten married. I come back, Brody Wash, and it goes back to connections. So our chief lending officer, Chris Koch, our chief credit officer, Josh McKeever, our CFO, Brody Wash, myself, our BSA officer, we all worked at the Department of Banking together from like 2006 to 2011. Some of us overlapped, some of us were there longer, and everything else. And we weren't, while we were bank examiners, saying, oh, someday we're all going to get together and run a bank and do this and everything else. But Brody had left. He was from a little town outside of Big Spring. He had left and gone to Western in 2010. Yeah, 2010. And was over there to help that bank previously. And so Western's not ours at this point in time. He's over there helping fix some operational issues. And I go get married in 2011, come back, Jim Richmond, who was the CEO at the time of Western Bank and the chairman of the board. We owe all this basically to him because he calls me up and says, hey, I need you to come in and fix some asset quality issues that we're having over here.
And you're working for the state at this time?
I'm working for the state, yep. And so get back from my honeymoon. I'm down in Austin for a 2-week stint there, doing like regional review, review of banks, review exam. I was on the little committee that within the Department of Banking that once an exam comes in, you scrub it, make sure it's all right and everything else, and basically audit our own internal systems. Drive back through Abilene, Texas, leave my wife in her little Grand Jeep Cherokee or whatever it was. She sits out in the parking lot. I go in and talk to Jim, and he's like, look, I think we should make a deal. You do this. And I'm like, all right, well, talk to my wife. She's obviously, hey, yeah, this is going to be great. We're going to make more money. You're going to be off the road. You'll be here in Lubbock. You got a job here. We're not going to have to move. Not really. She's like, let's go to the hill country. She's, poor lady's a Longhorn and grew up down in the hill country, and it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Good place to be from. But so anyway, she sits out in the car. We get back in. I'm like, yeah, I think, I can go work there if I want. So I come back. I talk
at Western?
At Western. And talk to my boss. And he's like, are you sure? Like, I mean, the bank's been in all kinds of issues. It's just always can't get out of its own way and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, I think, if I go over here and do this, then I can pretty much write my ticket. If I go over and clean up the books that they need me to do, surely some other bigger, larger bank will be like, hey, we'll hire this guy because he got that. And
yeah.
Little did I know, Brody set me up really well for that. When I, the second day on the job, called him and said, what the hell did you get me into? And he's like, yep, welcome to the circus.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And I was like, man, like there's, we had 15 pages of past dues loans.
So people think that, if people are looking on the outside in going, well, Dan's family had this and had that, you got handed a can of shit.
Yes. And total different. Yeah. It's not, I mean, it's all rosy. It looks great now, but we worked our asses off from 20. So we did that. I'm there about 6 months in, and at the time, we had some, directions from the regulating body that said you can't make these type loans, you can't do this, you can't do that. Well, I'm sitting in a loan committee, and I'm the senior credit officer. That's what I came over as. So I get to call the strikes and balls, and no, we can't do that. Yes, we can do this. That we're not allowed to do that. And Mr. Scott, he owned the majority of the bank at the time, said, hey, I'm going to make this loan to XYZ. I was like, oh, we can't do that because it says we can't do that right here, da-da-da-da. And he's like, well, then screw it. I'll just make it unsecured. And I'm like, unfortunately, sir, you can't make it unsecured either because that's not allowed either. At this point, he yells, well, then I'm just going to fucking sell the bank, da-da-da. He's down to, mind you, in Big Spring in his office. I'm telling the owner, the chairman, the guy, you know, he can't do this.
Shit.
I'm in a basement. Chris Sharp, you know him. He's been with us forever. He's sitting next to me. I think we had 2 other directors.
Chris
in
is
Lubbock.
working for Western
He's
at the time.
working for Western.
Brand
at the time.
new?
No, he'd been there. He came on. I think he actually came on with First National Bank Haskell, and I think like his second day on the job. A lot of those guys went to jail for stealing or something. So
Fuck.
and then yeah. Anyways, crazy story. That's a lot longer of one. But
I
so
had
Chris-
never heard this, so I'm enjoying it.
Well, so yeah, those guys go away. Mr. Scott had the bank stock loan on that bank, and so he elected to foreclose on the bank, and that's how they got the location out here on 82nd in Frankfort. And so they brought that in. It became My Lubbock Bank. They were First Bank of West Texas. They had Van Horn State Bank, and then they opened My Brownwood Bank. They'd put those 3 together, and then they brought them all under Western Bank in 2009. And they were moving a lot of things around. So my boss was like, they can't get out of their own way. They've got issues. They've got different groups of ownership and things like that. And so I told Mr. Scott, can't do that. He proceeds to say he's just going to sell the whole damn bank. And Tommy Churchwell, who was a big proponent of us, shout out to him as well, down in Big Spring, was like, well, he leans over to Bob and says, maybe you should just do that. Unfortunately for me, I'm like, well, I'm going to go upstairs. I just got fired. Like, I can't do that. So I go upstairs to my office, give Jim a call. And I'm like, hey, Jim, man. I was like, yeah, that didn't go over well, did it? And Carrie, our lending assistant there, she's like crying in her office. Everyone's like, I cannot believe this is crazy stuff. Like, this guy this is, wild. I'm like 6 months into the job.
But you know that they can't make that loan or they're going to get fucked.
Yeah, it's going to create more issues. It's like getting in your own way again. So I'm like, hey, I'm there to help. Like, guys, I'm part of the team. I'm Team Western. Anyways, Jim said, well, what'd you hear? I'm pretty sure pissed him off. And he's like, no, I heard that he said he would sell the bank. And I was like, yeah, I didn't. I did hear it, but I wasn't thinking that.
Yeah.
And so that was in March. I started in September, called August, September of 11. That was in March of 12. So I've been there 6 months. They're still trying to figure out who my name is. I'm in Lubbock. All the headquarters stuff was out of Big Spring at the time. And I go down, that was March. We go to in May of, that would have been May of 12. Yeah, it's quick. And that's why 6 months goes by fast. But we're at my cousin's ring dunk down in College Station. Mm-hmm. We have a big family. It's my mom, her 3 brothers, 10 of us grandkids. And that's who my granddad and grandmother left Gruver State Bank to when they passed away in 09 and 10. And so very close. That's an awesome thing. It's a huge family. But it's like, for my wife, it's like overwhelming. She was like, her and her sister and her parents. And she's like, what the hell is this circus every time? I'm like, yeah, it's a blast. What do you mean? But so we go to College Station, doing the ring dunk, do those type things. We're at the Dixie Chicken, drinking pitchers of beer, playing pool. Everyone's excited. He's graduating, getting into vet school. And I'm like talking to my Uncle John. I was like, hey, by the way, I was like, crazy idea. But I said, I didn't tell him the whole story of how Bob said he was going to sell the bank. But I was like, pretty sure we could buy this bank that I'm working for. And, the booze were flowing. Everything was good. And so we talked about it some more and everything else. And didn't really think much more about it. Go to sleep, wake up, Holiday Inn Express, breakfast. And he's sitting there and he's stirring his eggs or whatever he's stirring. I don't know, maybe pancake, whatever he eats, oatmeal probably. But he's like, hey, were you serious about last night, about buying that bank? And I'm like, yeah, I'm serious about it. I said, pretty certain, they're ready to sell. They have no succession. Mr. Scott's 80 years old. His son no longer works at the bank. There's 40 shareholders, they haven't made money. They're having issues. That's what Brody and I are over here doing. At the time, he didn't really know Brody, obviously. Probably knew of him. But so he's like, all right, well, let's see what we can do. So I immediately get back, call up Mr. Scott and said, hey, can we meet with you? And so myself, John, and my cousin Kyle, who's at the time, he's the CEO of Gruver, and running that for us and everything. And we hop in, drive all, they Gruver to Amarillo to Big Spring. So they have their 9-hour track, 6-hour track, 1 hour and 45 minutes. And I'm going in and I'm working for the bank, I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is crazy because I'm asking the guy that owns the bank to sell the bank. So we sit there with Mr. Scott and say, hey, what would you do? And he tells us his whole story about, I'd sell this bank, but, you're going to have to bring in a stack of money and a stack of money and a stack of money and a stack of money. When that money finally falls over, I'm going to need one more stack. And that's what it's going to take. And so we leave and like, all right, I don't think that went that well. So we go on. And meanwhile, Jim knows I'm trying to do this. Another gentleman that here's in Lubbock knew. This is a real tight deal because you can't obviously let all the employees know. At the time, we had like 34 employees and that spreads like wildfire.
Yeah.
And so go in, get back, call Mr. Scott back. Hey, thanks for meeting with us. We want to meet again. Fast forward, now it's June, second week in June. Go back, load back up in the car, drive back down there. He's more apt to listening to us at this time, and he says, I think we might be able to make a deal. Let's go eat lunch. So we go eat lunch. He just sleeps the whole lunch. It's like it was called the firehouse place that we're at. He's just
Really?
I'm like someone needs to poke him, make sure he's does not entertain us. Basically, we take him down there to watch him have a nap. And so we get back.
Do that.
So we
I
get
like naps.
So we get back in the car and drive back. My uncle's like, I don't think that went that well. I'm like, no, he slept the whole time. Like, I don't know how. Anyways, so I'm still working it from the inside of the bank. I finally get a deal made. I said, hey, this is what we'll do. They take it to their group. We go back down. We sign the letter of intent. So you have to sign an LOI, then you sign a definitive agreement, and then, boards approve it, and Department of Banking and FDIC and all those folks have to approve it. So last time we go down, I think we made 3 or 4 trips.
Are you going down? You're going down as Western Bank to
I'm
buy-
working for Western, but I'm taking the day. Like, I'm going in and I'm walking in and seeing these employees I work with, the loan officers that are there, that are sitting there like, this, what's he doing down here talking to Mr. Scott again? Like yesterday he was telling me I can't make this loan or I can make this loan, or go collect these past dues. But so I'd go down, I'd talk to the folks and make it normal and be like, Uncle John, Kyle, y'all slip in here. But so we go down, sign the stuff, or I don't think we signed that day, but we agreed to purchase it, and we leave, and Mr. Scott, Candy, I don't remember her last name, but she comes back. She's like, hey, Mr. Scott needs to see you. So we go back in his office, or in her office. He's sitting in her desk. And, meanwhile, you got to keep, like, when you're doing a merger acquisition, it's tight-lipped, quiet, it cannot get out because, the community and everyone else. So we've agreed. And he calls me back in there, and I'm like, what's he going to say? Congratulations. And he's like, sit down, son. I'll sit down. He's like, yeah, I don't think we're going to do this deal. And I was like, what? I'm like, what do you mean? So I go back out to the car, and I'm sitting there, and he also says it in front of this lady, and I'm like, that's not good, because now she's obviously going to tell everyone in Big Spring and Oklahoma. So go back outside. My uncle's like, man, this went great today. We're driving back. I'm like, I don't think it did go great. He just told me we're not doing this deal.
Dang.
And so I get back to Lubbock, and I call Jim. And that's why I say we're so thankful for him, because I call him, and he calls up Mr. Scott. He's like, Mr. Scott, this is the thing we need to do. You're 80 years old. There is no succession. This gets these folks out. This is a good group. All the board members are on board. Most of the shareholders we've talked to and everything else. So they go ahead and get it not pushed through, but they, the way they do it and on their board side and everything else. And obviously I'm not privy to that because I'm on the other side.
Yeah.
And I know immediately if this doesn't go through, I'm going to be out looking for another job.
Yeah, you are.
And I'm, 23 years old or whatever. No, at that time I guess I was 29. A few years had gone by. And I'm sitting there like, man, wife's pregnant. We got this. What am I going to be doing? Everything else. So fast forward, get the deal done. That was in May. We had an exam in August. A lot of things hinged on that. I'm sitting over on a little card table in Brody's office. It had been announced. I think we announced in June, but it still had to get the regulatory approvals. We had some other hurdles to get over. And fast forward to December 19th of 2012, we closed on it. And so back to relationships, connections, Josh McKeever called me. Well, I know this is a funny story too on this whole thing. So in June, I'm going through all this stuff. It's going to sell. It's not going to sell. We're going to get it. We're not.
You haven't even hit on the emotions that's like also.
Yeah.
And I'm watching it with one of my buddies. For anybody that's thinking about buying or selling a business, the emotional roller coaster is, it takes you from the highest highs to the lowest lows.
Lowest lows in a hurry whenever you're like, man, this isn't going to happen. You put all your energy into it.
Yeah.
And those, and, I'm down in Fredericksburg. Josh's wife was from there as well. And he's like, hey, I'm down here. You want to go have a beer at the brewery? I was like, yeah, let's go have a beer. So we're sitting there, and he's like, this time he's at a bank in Odessa and Midland. He's like, man, we should buy a bank. And my mind, speaking of emotions, I'm sitting there like, does he know something? Like, how would he know this? Like, there's no way he would know this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, man, we should. Like, that's a really good idea. And so like, anyways, get through that. Fast forward 2-3 months later, it comes out in the press release, Circle Out Bank Group's been formed, acquiring Western Bank. I think that was like in August, maybe, when we had to make that public announcement. First phone call, Mr. Josh McKeever. He's calling me like, hey, you didn't tell me this. What the, I'm like, yeah, man. I was like, confidentiality. I couldn't tell you that. I was like, I'm so sorry. I was like, but he's like, when you get this deal done, I want to come work with you guys. I was like, all right, for sure. So December of 12, we got that done. Basically, we did it, that December 19th, 12 days prior to year end, in case there's any accounting issues, get everything squared up and everything else. So starting fresh, January 1, 2013, it was, myself, Brody, Erica, Sarah, and Jim. It's kind of our crew.
So you created a position that you're now CEO of Western Bank.
No. Lead by example, man. I stayed on as like the credit officer when we first got it. I was like, no, Jim's the CEO. This is, and he wasn't part of the family. He was a shareholder and those things, but we're there because we got it going. And I want to say, I think titles are great for people, but they don't mean a lot. And everyone's like, well, that's easy for you to say at the top. And I'm like, I get that, but like, just do your job and do those things. People are going to respect you.
I feel the same way about titles, and I've been bad about handing people titles. And a lot of people need a title, and I think banks are actually some of the best about handing people titles. But then that title overflows to, well, that's not really.
Yeah, but you do need it for structure, and you need it for accountability, and that's what we're working on this year, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But
y'all have had a ton of growing pains.
Yeah, that's a ton. And so, 170 million January 1 of 13. There's 4 of us. Josh is calling, wanting to interview. I've got basically a bank that's, hasn't made any money, has a lot of past due loans, those things. I've worked through a bunch, but for the first 3 years, it's so exciting to get it done. That was obviously a huge notch for our family and everything else. And
how do you get rid of how do you turn the bank around with people that are past due is it just...
It's holding people accountable, and you have to hold your customers accountable. They were used to a different culture, and we're changing that culture. That was the whole plan. We're coming in, we're going to change this. You're not going to run 82 days past due on a car loan or anything else. We're going to come repossess it. We are going to foreclose. We are going to make you pay. And that, I think it was Jim who said it. There's cockroaches when there's new light turned on in here. Once they do, they're going to run to a different dark corner.
Yeah.
And so they do. They all start. It's the same thing if we were loose in lending. If we were really, really aggressive, like, hey, we'll go to 85%. Well, everyone's going to be knocking on your door because all the real estate investors, hey, go to Western Bank because those guys don't require any documents or down payment or those things. You start saying, no, we're going to have 20% equity. No, we are going to do this. This one's riskier. We're going to charge higher interest rates because of this or that or whatever it may be. And it's a buy-in from the top down to your lenders. And they know Chris Sharp would be a perfect example of like what it was like before, and where we're saying, no, we're going to hold you accountable, and we are going to call on you, and we are going to make you come make your payments, or we're going to take back the collateral and go through some losses and those type things. So 2013, just to get into that a little bit, Josh came on in April of 13. He was going to be a lender. He's sharpest credit guy I know. We foreclosed, repossessed cars for the first 3 years of our life. And like, it was 170 million, and you've got one location here in Lubbock. At the time, we were, I think, maybe 2 million in deposits and 8 million out here at this branch, and deposits, 2 million in loans, or vice versa. I can't remember, but it was nothing. And, calling on folks and, going to Texas Tech. But I was a bank examiner for 5.5 years. It wasn't like I had a business or a group of people I could go call on, like, hey, come bank with me and do those type things. So the first 3 years was just scratching and grinding and pulling, and just, I was in Dallas one day and foreclosing on 6 houses that they had financed there. And these are all previous loans, so it's like, I don't even know the customers. I'm like, well, how do we have 6 houses in Dallas, Texas, all over? And so I'm calling my buddy that I, went to college with, that's a realtor there. And I'm like, hey, can you go look at these houses? He's like, man, I don't think you want me to look at these houses. I'm like, well, I got to take them back and get at least whatever I can for it. So I walked up to 1 million people foreclosing on houses in downtown Dallas at the courthouse. That was a crazy day. But I get a call in my hotel room that morning, and it's another terrible loan that was about $2-3 million that we had on the books. The guy calls me up. He's like, hey, I know you're going to hate to hear this, but I'm paying you off. And I was like, actually, I do hate to hear that, because that's one loan that, even though it's been bad and upside down collateral values, and I've got a bunch of money reserved against it and everything else, so like, you always make your payments. And but I'm also like over there like, ching, get that thing out the door. That helps me. So I did that. Then I went down to the foreclosure steps and foreclosed on them. Somebody said they were going to buy them. They didn't. Ended up with those, take a small loss and move on down the road. But that, you just got to take your loss and, do it. And part of our negotiations when we bought it was like we knew that was going to happen, and so it wasn't like a surprise.
But that was 3 years of work to
3
turn that
years
around.
of that, yeah. And so July of 16, John Weddigy, met with him, and he was working at another local bank here. And John and I went to college together. We were fraternity brothers. He's a year older, and we struck a deal. And I'm like, "Hey, man, coming over here." And in the mind, I've got this vision. I'm like, Josh and I. It was me and Josh Brody at that time. Now Eric, Sarah, and Jim. That was kind of our crew there. And Chris Sharp obviously plays a huge role in this because he's sitting there with me at the location in Lubbock while I'm running around pulling my hair out trying to do all these things. He's holding that.
He's holding that down.
And so get John over, and I had visions. I was like, hey, we're going to do this, but in the meantime, I'd already bought our location downtown. So I sat on Lubbock Power and Lights board for 8 years. I was like chairman of that for 4 years, and there's a lot of change there too, and that's giving back to your community and doing those things. And I think it was a great thing. Learned a lot there as well. But downtown, that was when the city council and everyone's pushing for downtown revitalization.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen downtown; it's changed a ton,
Yeah.
and it's been good. But there's still a lot that needs to go on.
Yeah.
But we got a beautiful building down there for dirt cheap. And at the time, we were 170. We'd probably grown the bank to 220, 230 in 3 years while still going through all that stuff, which was good. So we're seeing some positive growth. But we bring John over, and I know he's a Lubbock guy. I'm like, John, this is where we're at. It's 2016. We're going to focus on growth and go there. And he's like, okay. So he comes in, and August of, that would have been the same year, we hired Roger Corral. August is when RJ retired. I called RJ up. And obviously John and Roger and these folks, they don't know what's going on or what this maniac over here is like. What's his vision? Because I think I've gotten better over the years of, hey, explaining those things, but I'm also very confidential because banking's tight-lipped and I don't trust a lot of people. And so I don't, hey, this is what we're going to do, because then I hear a whisper down the hallway and I'm like, why did that get out? I did not want that to get out. But, so I'm not telling John my true goals. Hire RJ, he comes on in August. Roger, and the bank out there is pretty tiny on 82nd, and it's built weird. We didn't have any control over it. There's 3 offices. There's not really, it was like a living room set up when we got there. We had to move out the furniture and put some desks in. And anyways, RJ comes on, hire Chris Koch, and everyone's like, where's this going? I'm like, well, guys, surprise, I bought a building downtown, and we're about to renovate it, do this. But across from the brewery, LBK, and West Table, there was, at that time, a law office there. And I was like, and I got y'all. I just filled out some forms to be an LPO, a loan production office downtown. It's going to be our second location. And you guys are charged with going and growing and getting Lubbock business, and let's grow this thing to the moon, as we like to say. And they're like, huh? And I'm like, yeah, down there. And like, man, I don't know, man, downtown. Like, and I'm like, I know, but I've been down there. I've been going downtown. I'm selling this board. The city, everyone's pushing for this. There's going to be a new hotel coming in, event space.
Yeah, y'all were there before Cotton Court.
Yeah, we were there before Cotton Court and before COVID as well. And so fast forward, that year they grew it. It was probably 240. Those guys took us to 350, 360, somewhere in there from 16 to 18. We opened our doors downtown in 18.
And when you say grew this, does the bank always say, if you've got $200 million in assets or loans out, do you have to have $200 million in deposits or $400 million?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, you look at it from a loan to deposit ratio.
So
you have to have more deposits.
You have to grow your deposits and able to grow your loans.
100%. And we did this without acquisitions, or is all organic so far.
And what percentage can a healthy bank will run at 100% loans to 100% deposits?
No, it's more, and that comes back in from what your board level, what your risk level as a team is. 85%, 80%. We have target levels in our policies and procedures. That's another thing about banking. I mean, talk about regulations. People just don't understand. I mean, you have to have, say we want to run at 80% and loan to deposits or loan to assets. There's a couple different ratios you look at. So you're looking at that loan to deposit ratio, 80%. Well, I've got to do a risk policy on why I chose 80%, and then why I chose that to this to that. I mean, we approve probably 250 policies and procedures and processes over time, and you're looking at those ratios all the time, but they also take time to change. And if they go bad, it takes a lot longer to get them changed. So you try to run in those, we try to run anywhere from 80 to 85%. I think today we're a little bit above that. But
But you really-
the more you run, the more you make money wise. Yeah.
But you can't push loans until you have deposits.
Correct.
So you have to get
You
those
can
accounts.
go borrow. There's banks, 4 banks, correspondent
Yeah.
banks. So you can go borrow deposits on typical line of credit as someone. It's called the Federal Home Loan Bank, the Federal Reserve. You can borrow money from them, and we've done that in the past. You obviously pay for it. Again,
Yeah.
that's a cost, that's a liability to us, but it's a way to fund the balance sheet.
Yeah.
And you got to do it strategic, and that's what we were very strategic about. And the time whenever we bought the bank, it was probably 30% loan to deposits. So I had a ton of runway to go do with the guys that we brought on.
Oh,
So we opened up 18 with those fellows. And from there, took off and we started growing Lubbock. And fast forward to 2019, my cousin Kyle up there in Gruver, they'd gone through some, staffing pains. And, Kyle and I are sitting there, we're looking at it. And it's like, why are we paying 2 cashiers? And everyone knows that if you have 2 banks, why are you paying 2 core systems? It's a huge cost for us. We pay, I don't know how much a month, but to just run our internet, or not our internet, our computer systems that had all the customer information.
Yeah.
Well, you were paying for 2 of those. We're paying for 2 CEOs. We're paying for 2 CFOs. We're paying for 2 BSA analysts and those type things. And then, Gruver being of a town of 1,100, hour and a half north, it's hard to find good qualified folks that are in those to stand up to the regulations of the FDIC. So 2019, we're like, yeah, we should bring this in under Western, make it a branch. And so we did. And so that added about 50 million in assets to us. So from there, we went to like probably 390 in 19. 2020, COVID happened.
yeah. That was a crazy story for me with COVID too, and with you guys, because we had started our
Yeah.
project. Miguel's is about a $2 million project, and we had the architect that's downtown, Western that's down there, and we're just kind of looking at each other like, what are we gonna do? And Dan and John are like, just keep showing up to the bank, keep working.
Yeah.
And the architect is like, just keep going. And I don't skip meetings. Like, if I gotta be somewhere, if I have a task that I have to keep going, I just show up. And really, 100% honesty is the Western Bank guys and my architects were like, just come to the meeting. We're all moving forward.
Yeah.
And as scary as it was for you guys, it was as scary for us. But there wasn't a day during COVID that we didn't work in that building with at least 1 or 2 people. And
Right.
what a crazy ass time.
It was insane. And I lied to our staff so many times because I started out, I'm like, this is going to be 2 weeks, folks. Like
Yeah.
2 weeks, and 2 weeks would go by. Like, hey, I guarantee you, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. And then a year goes by.
I know.
And we're sitting around in flip flops and shorts and t-shirts, tossing balls up in there, going, I hope Tommy gets his building built down there, gets to actually open it.
I know.
It was wild.
It was nuts.
And everyone else is panicking about COVID. PPP was a huge thing. It was great that the government did that. It obviously has its bad consequences on the other end with how much money got pumped into the economy.
Yeah.
Several folks, didn't need it. They qualified for it, but we'd had a huge crisis on our hand had we not done that. And it goes back, government things and being a government employee. I was a proponent of it for the folks that needed it, but I was not like, let's go out. And a lot of banks tried to go get business from that. And like,
Yeah.
hey, we're going to make these loans for whoever and do it. My deal was get Tommy his money, get Tommy's money paid back as quickly as we can, get that out the door and out of the way. And so that's what we focused on. It probably took us 2 weeks actually to get in the SBA portal. My dad, with a separate bank that he runs, he calls me up and he's like, oh yeah, son, we're making SBA loans. I'm like, how the hell are you making SBA loans?
Yeah.
And I'm like, we can't even get in. And I'm calling Congressman Arrington and I'm like, hey, Jody, you got to help us out. Like customers are coming in. They need the money. We got these hotels that need the money and
Yeah.
everything else. And that, you talked about the highs and lows of emotions, I hear people like, yeah, I got to close my business down. And I know y'all, like, yeah, your business, you're sitting there sweating bullets. Like, what the hell? How am I going to pay for this? I'm over here sweating bullets over $350 million in loans. And there's other bankers that are sweating over $1 billion in loans and everything else. And I'm like, guys, we got a huge, how are they going to make the payments? The hotels have 0 people staying in them. But that's, it was and that's a whole nother learning experience, going through that, work from home, remote, we sent a ton of people home. We never, we didn't. Some banks, their loan officers are gone for a year. Our loan officers were there. We had to start closing branches sometimes. We had to put up the glass signs and in small communities. I mean, people are like, and we don't believe in COVID. Take the horse medicine and you'll live, forever. And that buy-in, and then you find out someone you did know passed away from it or something, and you're like, hey, this is serious. It's a lot more to it than what it was. So.
God, walking into the banks with just nobody in there, one or two.
Yeah.
I don't know what y'all call them. Everybody that does anything at a bank, not just Western, is a vice president.
But so we did that. In downtown, you've seen our campus down there. We bought a building behind it because we started growing and we had this growth. And one good thing about our board, our family, and everyone else is they're very supportive, and we're all supportive of each other on decisions we make and those type things and everything else. And even if Tommy, I know that's the wrong decision. My front is that's the right decision, and we're going to go on down the road. And I think that as a leader, even if your team makes a wrong decision, you support them and close the door. There's not a lot of, hey, what the hell did you do that for? It's like, hey, come back, let's learn from this and go forward. And so you mentioned earlier the president, the CEO, my title. At some point along that path, I did change. I was like, hey, we got to have the president in Lubbock. We moved the headquarters here, so I'm the president. Jim's still the CEO. I don't even remember when it was. At some point, I became CEO. I became co-chair of the board and those type things for structure reasons and everything else. But it wasn't like, give me this title or I'm out the door. So it was just one of those things where, hey, you've grown into this. Yeah, you are calling the shots now. And, Jim and I, from the very get-go, I'd be on the phone with him daily. Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? And as you slowly get...
So he's been a good mentor
huge mentor.
Yeah.
And then slowly, as you grow, you see some things, you start calling it, and you're like, you know what? I didn't call Jim. What? Da-da-da-da. And at that point, everyone's like, hey, we realize you're running this, you're good to go, and you should be in charge and everything else. And then you slowly, and I look back on those deals, and a week may go by, and I'm like, shit, I haven't talked to Jim this week. I need to call him. And it's like one of those things, and then, it just whatever. But
how important is it for a mentor in business?
I think it's huge. Yeah. I mean, we would not be here without that guy helping me get through this. So.
Well, even from the outside looking in, and you've mentioned a bunch of the guys' names, and I knew that y'all were a tight-knit group, but y'all have had a wonderful organization of friends, business partners, guys that are going to hustle and push business, guys that are going to do the right thing. So it's nice to see that y'all have that organization and such a good group of tight-knit people to steer this ship and run it forward.
Certainly.
And you've done it. I've asked you a couple of times who spearheaded it, and it is the board and it is these people, but you're the one that linked these chains together.
Yeah, but I mean, linking it together, that's one thing too,
Yes.
is, I'm always a proponent of hiring people smarter than you.
Yeah.
And that's what I think I've done really well at is, and back to the board supporting us, like, hey, we need a chief risk officer. We're not at $1 billion yet. We're going to need one. Well, we hired one when we were $550 million. We went out and got the best one. There's no one better than Casey.
Yeah.
And, when we started our mortgage company, I don't know anything about running a mortgage company, but I go out and hire Alan Pyland, who was the president of first, Prime West. She's the best one there. And she's teaching us, we're learning it and those type of things, but people were closing down mortgage companies because of where rates are at. And I'm looking at it like, we're always going to have our communities. They're always going to have mortgage loans. Why are we shipping these to a different customer or throwing it off to someone else online? We might as well take care of them. And that's who they want to use.
Yeah. But as a small bank and are y'all guys holding the mortgages, or y'all are packaging them up and sell them? Do y'all have people that y'all prefer to sell them to, or do people bid on those?
Yeah, no, we have, I don't know how many investors we have that'll go out and buy them. The list grows every time, every day you get more qualified for another investor, another investor, another investor. And so we have several of those we go out to and sell them off. We will, a rancher doesn't have W-2 income. The government has made it very difficult for, this is the bucket you fall in, this is the structure, this is your W-2, and you qualify for a loan. And then if not, sorry. Well, that's where we come in on the community side, the back side, and we're like, you know what, this person does qualify, we can do this, that, and we can hold those on our books.
Oh.
So
There's so many regulations, and you know it better than anybody now. I wanted to hit on a couple things for people that are starting their own business or in their own business, been there for a few years, just so they can hear it from your mouth. How do you get What does somebody do to establish a new relationship with a bank?
You know, it goes two ways, and we tell folks that. And we branched into Plainview. We opened up in Amarillo, and so a lot of folks. I mean, hell, if you go from 170 million to 850 million to $1 billion, they're all new customers.
Right.
I mean, it's not like we had one customer that also grew to $1 billion.
Yeah.
So I mean, and it's all organic. We didn't, go acquire a bank and say, okay, we brought in $200 million deposit. So all that growth organically is new customers coming to us, and it's them trusting us and us trusting them.
So if they want a relationship with you, they just need to walk in.
Yeah, I mean, we go call on. I mean, we've got 15 lenders in town or so, or I don't know, 26, 7 overall over that 440 miles, out making calls daily and doing those type of things. But you were a new customer to us. I think Kendra Lansdale is the one who linked us up with our stationery. So back to relationships, connections. I'm buying my thank you cards from her, and she's like, hey, you need to call on Tommy. He's the guy that's crazy and from beer house and everything else. And so you came in, and we give you our pitch of we're going to take care of you. We're going to get answers. We're going to be quick. We're going to be easy, and those type things. And then we've got to believe in what you're selling is here's my product, here's my growth, and those. And so, yeah, I mean, you walk in, but you need that relationship. And I think you would say it as well, is huge to know there's going to be down times, and the bank's got to be there in the good and the bad times too. It's not all. I mean, when we talk about bad, great times, good times, our customers are going to go through those as well. And I think we're seeing it in today's time. Less people are traveling, less people are doing those things. Hotel revenues are down, City of Lubbock the other day announced their sales tax revenue, I think, was down $5 million. They're on a hiring freeze, budget freeze. So if the city's doing those type of things, I know some of that's driven by their budget and the new council and those type of things, but those numbers are true.
Yeah.
City's revenue's down $5 million. And so what happened? Do we not throw enough baseball tournaments this summer or what? I don't know. I mean, it's not because of the rain.
Well, they're long-term relationships, and we're glad to have one with you guys. And I pitch you guys to other people because of this. We went through COVID, and we've been through good times, bad times, and again, even really pushed me during COVID because I was like, well, I mean, this shit ain't gonna happen.
Right.
And you're like, no, just go. Let's go make it happen. And man, did we. And that was just a crazy, crazy time. For guys that are looking for loans, small business dudes that want to get into something, first step is they need to go into your office and get with a lending officer.
Certainly.
Second step is they've got to meet some qualifications that you guys need to even get a loan.
Yeah.
Is that 2 years in business? They need a car?
No, I mean, because you're
house.
It's man, every loan, every deposit relationship, every single thing, and that's what's so much fun. Is that right? So fun about banking. So much fun about banking that your deal is different than the next guy that walks in my office. From Gruver, you have a rancher that walks in and needs, 2,000 head of cattle, or needs, for 10 sections of land, I'm about to do some corn. That's a totally different loan than your loan. A hotel operator comes in and says, hey, I want to build this hotel. So, yeah, I mean, you've got to have, a business plan, a business model. And there's a lot of them too. You'll hear us, and we're honest about that too. When we're like, that sucks, dude.
How many of those do y'all get?
I mean, it's, and it's being straight up, we get a bunch, but it's one of those things. And it's, we've turned down loans, and say we turned you down, and now look how successful everything you are. Yeah. That's great. I still want to be friends with you and everything else. But at the time, and we're evaluating risk daily, and we make the wrong calls. And then you can be like, I told you so. And I'm like, I'm glad you told me so. Yeah. And I'm glad for you. And then there's other times where, you tell them no, and they're like, I'm going to go prove you wrong, and it doesn't go that way. And, they come back. But you need a great vision, plan, probably some experience in it. If someone walked in and said, hey, I'm going to start a restaurant today and has zero restaurant experience, I'd be like, that's just pretty much, I know that's going to be over here in the no category. Yeah. But maybe they're
Y'all
great.
See that fancy door you just walked in? You could just turn around and walk right out. But grab some candy. Grab some candy on the way.
Yeah. So, I mean, it goes both ways. But I mean, being honest, quick, and telling those folks that is probably one of our biggest strengths. We can make a decision really, really fast. If you're walking in, and you said, hey, I want to start this business, be prepared that, 2-3 years of tax returns, have some collateral. guarantees, personal guarantees. A lot of bigger banks and say, like, oh, we're not going to do guarantees, those type of things. It's like, no, you believe in this, what you're doing, you should be willing to sign the paper to guarantee it. And, you need obviously revenue and income and cash flow. And a lot of banks set their, that debt service coverage ratio we always talk about at 1.25 times. Some maybe at 1.3, some maybe at 1.2. But that goes back to where the management team and the board and those people set their risk policies.
So y'all don't love new business if they have no operating business. No bank's gonna like that.
Oh, but then there's the Small Business Administration, SBA will step in. There's different paths. Like you can't just, every business started from nothing.
Yeah.
And it slowly grew and those type of things. But, Nike wouldn't be here. Think of those things. Like, it's.
Well, that goes back to what a lot of people are preaching right now about buying existing businesses.
Yeah.
And my advice, I've done it both ways from the ground up and then bought existing ones. And my advice to anybody is if you can go buy an existing business somehow, some way, that's the way to do it. You got cash flow on day one and the bank guys are going to like you a lot more, especially if you have experience in that field.
You have experience in it. You have the opportunity and that's one of the things I pitched to the family when we did this. I was like, look, guys, we're buying a bank. This is what we've done for 100 years. I'm fifth generation banker here. Like, why? It's not like we're trying to go out and buy a hotel or buy a restaurant or buy, I don't know what or anything. It's buy something that's existing. You're probably going to get a better deal. Sometimes you're going to pay probably a little bit more of a premium or something. Yeah. But in the end, if you've got experience in it and those type of things, it's yours too. And that's what owning your own business. I told the family that same exact thing too. I still remember it back today. I was like, well, what's your title gonna be? What are you gonna be? I'm like, I don't care about that stuff, guys. I was like, I gotta wake up every day and go work for the family. Yeah. And I gotta, you're not waking up, oh, I gotta go work for Dan Odom. I'm sure people say that. Oh shit, I gotta go work for that guy. But
what is the craziest thing that y'all have loaned out on?
There's some real crazy ones. Like, we when we bought the bank, or acquired it, whatever the right word is there. I'm sitting in meetings with some folks and I'm like, what do we have here? And they're like, oh, we have these huge Bell helicopters, not like the Bell Osprey up in Amarillo, like the ones that carry, is over in Afghanistan or one of those countries over there. And I'm like, what? How do we have a hotel over here? And like, oh, it's on a lease back thing and it's from this guy out in, I think Eugene, Oregon or somewhere like that. And I'm like, that's the person that's paying us back, that's past due, that's this. I'm like, what are we going to do? What do we do to get this helicopter back or whatever else? And the borrower at the time that had kind of put that deal together that's on our books now that I'm getting to deal with, gets in a bunch of bankers, we're invested in this deal. And it's just one of those things that goes bad. Again, you don't know it. But, this guy comes in and it's like MacGyver or some guy, some spy, 007 agent, and he's telling us this whole thing. All of y'all around the table, give me $50,000. I've got some credentials. I'm going to fly into the Army base over in Kuwait or Afghanistan or wherever. I'm going to fly that plane from there, not over to Iran, but to another country that's part of the U.S. We're going to park it there. Then we're going to get it. We're going to repossess this. And I'm like, there's no fucking way you're gonna go sneak onto an Army base and fly this freaking thing out of here or whatever else. And I'm like, it's just like you're sitting there and I'm like, am I like, is this a movie script? Like, what
was
is
he
going
telling
on
the
here?
truth?
I don't know what the hell ever happened with it because I just called the people that sold us the loan and I said, we want out of this deal and here's why. Bam, 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 bam. I don't care if it's discounted or not, but I'm not. This is like a novel. It's just insane.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
What do you...
That's probably not even our best one. I'd have to sit here and think of something. I should have thought of something last night.
I like that one. You're the first person I sent my notes to, so you should have been well prepared for all this. Which, if they go crummy, they stop at 45 minutes, and it's been an hour and 15 minutes. But I got about 3 more questions, and then I got to go to the Tech soccer fields. My kids have been going to the soccer camps.
Yeah.
Which Tech puts on. It's Texas Tech for people out of Texas, but they put on some awesome camps for these kids, and they bring in, my daughter's in high school, they bring in coaches and scouts from other colleges, and they just do a good job. They get to play alongside the Tech soccer team.
Yeah,
And
their
so
team's awesome.
They love it. Oh, they're badass. But I guess three more questions. One is, you're over 40 now. I guess we're getting old. What does Dan's definition of success look like?
Man, my definition of success, it's somewhat the people you work with, and we talked about it earlier. You don't want them being miserable. You want to have fun. Looking back on life, it's not, oh, we got this, we grew this bank. Everyone always asks me that. It's like, what is your goal here? And I'm like, just to keep growing. And I'm like, you've seen me. I mean, how many times you walked in, I'm actually sitting at my desk.
Yeah.
I'm walking around talking to people in the offices or whatever else, or bouncing a ball or whatever, because I can't just sit there and, twiddle my fingers. And the family, I talk about how supportive they are. They, we had the $40 million, $50 million bank there in Gruver, happy with it. They're not, the ones pushing the growth, pushing those type things. We bought this bank. Obviously that was like, hey, this is a vision we have. And people ask, to the success question, what's your goal? Here, are you going to grow this to $1 billion and sell it? And I'm like, no, I'm fifth generation. Hopefully, I can hand this down to my daughter or my cousin's kids or whoever else. We have a sixth generation cousin that's working with us in Amarillo now. So maybe he steps up someday. Maybe it's his kids, we've been very successful doing that, but my mom and her that generation, they decided not to be in banking, and then out of our generation, the 10 grandkids, there's 3 of us cousins that are running the show. And plus our oldest cousin, his son that works with us there. So there's 4 of us that are truly in the bank day to day pushing this. But, if our employees are happy, we're taking care of them. That's a huge thing for us. Yeah. We treat them like family. And sometimes families fight. And so sometimes there's the miserable part of that deal. Yeah. But if they're happy, if our communities are happy, we've got Gruver, Amarillo, Lubbock, Big Spring, Brownwood, Abilene. We just recently sold a branch in Lorain.
All secondary markets too. Y'all ever thinking about going into a big city or?
We have, and that's on the goal, but we've got so much going on in these communities, and that's, making sure our community's happy. That's a huge thing for a local community bank. Yeah. And that's what we grew up in Gruver, Texas. Our bank's on the scoreboard. You support the school, you support the students, and you got to support people there too. In all communities across the board, across Texas. And that's what, there's great things for the huge national banks, the JP Morgan Chases. Yeah. They do their thing. We do our thing. But community banks, and I should shout out to all of the ones in West Texas, across Texas, if your economy and our state and everything else wouldn't be there without those local people giving back and doing those type of things. And I think that gets looked over a lot. I think it's like, oh, the big bad banker. And I'm like, we need our community to succeed. If they succeed, we succeed. Their success. Our employees succeed, and that, there's nothing happier than seeing your business and be like, man, look how badass it is where Tommy took this thing from to where it is now. And, we were a part of that. And so all that is success to us. And what the long-term plan is, is to continue to grow. Again, I don't want to sit around and twiddle my fingers, but back to the support of the family. Yeah. If we were still sitting here with 6 locations and 35 employees that we're taking care of, they'd be like, this is great. We're good. We're happy. Oh. And, my goal was, nope, we're going to bring in a business development officer. Nope, we're going to bring in lenders. Nope. In Amarillo, we opened that in 2021. So COVID had happened. I've been talking to my cousin Jeff. We brought Gruver in. And if you're not from Texas, Texas is a huge state, obviously. And we talked about the, 7 hours apart from our most northern location to our southern location.
Which is kind of dumb because I do 9 hours apart, and it's like, why would we torture ourselves like this?
But it's good because we've got great people in all those locations. Yeah. Our market president, Brownwood, Clark, Anna, Jared, Jim, Weston, and Abilene, and their other staff too, members there. Joel De La Garza, that's been with us since day one, in Big Spring. I don't wake up and have to worry about what's going on in Big Spring right now. Yeah. They're taking care of it. Francis and Jeff and Plainview, all of our Lubbock folks, there's too many to list. I can list all y'all if you are listening to this. Yeah. Y'all know I can.
They're going to listen.
Yeah, they are. We're going to get clicks. And, Jeff in Amarillo, and then Kyle and Gruver and their team. Jeff, 2021, we're at the Sod Poodles game. I think it was Gruver was there. But
what is the Sod Poodles?
The Amarillo Sod Poodles, the little minor league baseball team.
Oh, yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
You should go to a game there.
Well, we got a Paint Rock Coffee opening there soon. And there's a Western like a mile away. Yeah. I went in there to open an account. I'm like, oh, never mind. I don't have to. I'm already here.
You're already here. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But so, if you're listening, you are listening because you're not watching. You
Yeah.
said that. But Gruver was 3.5 hours north, and you had Amarillo and Plainview in between there, and then Lubbock. Well, Jeff at the time had been working, his journey was Plains Capital Credit Analyst to Wells Fargo to Happy State Bank. And Happy State Bank was, a huge bank out here that did a lot for communities as well. And that was great for obviously the Panhandle and everywhere else they went. But Jeff's over there, and Jeff's has a great job. And, I'd always, every time, Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, whatever we see, football games, those type of things, like, Jeff, you got to come work for us, man. We can't go into Amarillo because you're working at a different bank, you're the chairman's son, like, how does that make sense? And then we've got customers in Gruver being like, why does it overlap from Gruver now all the way down to Lubbock? Jeff's like, yeah, I'm just not ready. Well, we're at the side pool games, probably having some beers again. And it's a common theme when ideas come together, I think, with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, I'm ready to do this. I'm like, perfect. Let's get it going. So he sets up shop. He quits. He sets up shop in his house. And I got a ton of stories too of like people trusting me, the curly-haired idiot over here, like sitting in the basement of my old living room table. That's where we built the building downtown. And then I hire an HR director, Giovanna, and she's sitting over at a card table. And like, people don't know all this stuff. They think it's just like they see it, and it's like, oh man, that's just a company that's blowing and going and doing something. I'm like, you don't realize where these people are in closets. Jeff's sitting there calling in the loan committee, and he's at his dining room table. He goes, this is his house. I'm like, that's all we had. We don't have the money to spend to do this. Well, I think it was 8 months later, Happy announced they were selling to a bank out of Arkansas. And it just, it shakes up the market. Everyone's like, Happy would never sell, and things like that. And so a lot of our growth, here in Lubbock, we had, First Capital across the street over here. It sold. Lone Star, AIM Bank, Centennial Bank, First Bank and Trust, Platinum. I mean, there's, Lubbock used to be the most overbanked bank in town. They had 30-something community banks here. A lot of them get picked up. There's been a lot of acquisitions and mergers. And I think that gives us, to your point, trust. This family's been doing this for so long and everything else. But so we get Jeff on. He grows that market. Plainview comes together. We open up in Plainview. And now our franchises, Gruver, it all ties together, and there's actually a void there.
Yeah.
But from 2013, when we started this, I always knew I wanted to be in those markets, but it just wasn't the right timing. And so waiting and doing those things and not just jumping into it has been hugely successful for us as well.
And takes time and money. I mean, you gotta pay for all of this stuff.
Yeah. So Jeff, he's sitting at his dining room table, and then all that stuff happens. People start leaving, going different places and everything else. I'm like, we got to jump on this, guys. And so we get a little, I think it was like a State Farm agency. We're in there with 3 different people in a little office like this, and they're stacked in. And one of the rooms is just a closet that's just like a long closet. And we've got 3 people stacked in. And we always make the joke, it's like they're on a school bus. I'd walk in there and I'd be like, you guys look like you're on a school bus. There's like a fireplace in one room. We had our lending assistant and our business development officer up there, like sharing a desk, and then a TV that wouldn't work half the time for life size and everything else. And then, our good buddy, Zach McCutcheon. And
Hey, we've made amends.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, we're good. We're buddies again.
I call him up and I'm like, hey, we bought this little strip center. We got to get a location up. We immediately outgrow that place. And so now 2-3 years later, we're still, we're about to break ground up in Amarillo and build a bigger location there. But they took over that market. We went into Plainview and did those things. And it's the staff and the people that we have that truly make it. And, we have customers that have visited 6 different locations, and they come back and say, man, it's awesome at every single one. And that's what I've, from day one, from 2013, Brody and I have strived to say, if you walk into Abilene, if you walk into Big Spring, if you walk into Brownwood, you're going to get the same feel that you're going to get there. They may not know you, but they can pick up the phone and say, hey, Dan, Tommy's in here.
Yeah.
And we try to treat everyone, and our processes are all the same. And it's not, Gruver does it one way, Lubbock does it a different way, and you're like, what? This is so strange. And I'm sure, that's a goal of every company that has several locations. You've got 2 beer houses, but you want the same prickly pear margaritas, tasting the same at both, not being like, well, I'm not going to that one because it's terrible.
Yeah. No, that's a challenge everywhere, whether it's banking or, restaurants or anything.
Yeah.
To keep them on the same page. But I think y'all have done a good job of it, and they do look great. And another shout out to Megan for her,
Megan's godsend, man. She has to put up with me, and She keeps me on track.
But her
Aubrey kept me on
talent to
track, yeah.
put stuff together and make
Yeah.
it look nice.
So Megan's story, it's kind of a crazy one. I'll give a little background on her. She was in Wichita Falls. She was working for a bank. When we bought this one, we had some ownership in that came along with it. And Megan was doing her job for that bank there. And I always give her a hard time because Jim and I went to the shareholders meeting there, and I think John was with us. And we meet Megan, and she runs over and like gives Jim a cookie and a Coke or whatever else. Like, can I get you anything? And she doesn't know us from, we're just the new people in this room of
Yeah.
500 people. And she's, hey, let me make this perfect, great, everything else. Nor does she know where her journey is going to end. Well, her husband gets the head athletic director job at Friendship. She comes to town. She reaches out, interviews at a couple other banks. And I think she was driving by Western at some point or whatever. And she's like, you know what? I ought to stop in and talk to Dan. Like, I know that guy. I've met him twice, 2 years in a row. I met him for 2 hours maybe. And I talked to Jim, and at this point, I didn't even have a job for her, really. I was like, we need a secretary. We need someone to help me out, some of these things. But Jim's like, you remember how good she was at that shareholders meeting? When she brought me over that cookie and that Coke, she's like, that girl knows what she's doing. And I'm like, yeah, she does for sure. And so she comes in. She's the one that I'm like, she's like, where in my office? I'm like, oh, I got a good spot down here in the basement for you. And it's my old dining room table that I grew up on. And she's like, huh? And I'm like, yep, it's the only spot we got right now. But she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, she told me one time she doesn't like surprise or anything else. Like, I bought a building downtown. We're about to renovate it. I don't want this getting out right now because, again, secrets in banking and all the good stuff. And so she put that deal together. I somewhat, I was like, I want something that's timeless. You talk about walking into banks, it's crickets. We've got music playing, and someone may be in golf shorts or whatever else. We do work hard, play hard. But I don't want to walk into like 1970 and, roll top desk, some guy's over there sitting there smoking a cigarette, and you're like, oh, I don't even want to go in his office. I'm too scared to talk to that loan officer. We're running out to greet you and say, hey, can we get you a Coke? Can we get you plenty of candy? Take care of your kids. We got a little play area, things like that. And so I told Megan, I was like, look, I want this to be timeless. I need it to be wherever else. And Gary Stevens, him as well. He's huge in this. And so little did I know what undertaking of a 14,000 square foot building was going to be. I'm like, yeah, we can remodel this and do that. And it took 2 years, scratching, pulling teeth, doing that while still growing, hiring folks and doing those things. And we got to that point, I'm probably at 50, 60 employees. I'm like, we need an HR director. I'm still hiring everyone. I'm sitting in on all the teller interviews, the part-time interviews. And Megan was there to pick up all that slack and make sure the building, was on track, got done, keeping me here, keeping me on track. And so that, we would not, give all the shout outs to Jim, all the shout outs to me, our whole team. Dude, you've met a lot of them, and I'd put them up against anyone. It doesn't matter whether it's, head of retail services, whether it's head of compliance, and compliance is, our IT officer. Every single person has the buy-in, and, I bought into them, and they bought into my crazy nonsense. And I know they don't like it a lot because they're like, what is this guy doing now? What do you mean? The Plainview story, that's Giovanna Barrera. Her mom, Frances Barrera, was up, and she's been in Plainview all her life. She comes down, and she's not happy because the happy deal's going through and everything else. And she's like, I think, we're just all going to retire or quit or whatever else. I was like, no, let's don't do that. Let's open up a bank in Plainview. Like, we can go the other direction. Don't retire.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't know. I think we're just done, And I was like, no, let's do this. And she's like, are you sure? And I get to Alan in a second too, kind of her story. And I know you got to get, but Frances said, I'm like, hey, y'all trust me. I'll start paying y'all today. Y'all, we'll do this. And she's like, what? Are you serious? Next day we're having a board meeting, and I'm like, hey, family, guess what? We have a branch in Plainview. And they're like, what? And so
that's what I do to Daniel.
Yeah, right?
That's what I do to Daniel. So I'm going to go look at this. He goes, you mean buying? I'm like, well,
yeah.
We're
And
just going to
so
look.
they started, and they've done great there. It's been pretty successful for us there as well. And we go have community events, engagements there, and I tell those folks, I'm like, y'all got to trust us. We've got to earn your trust.
Yeah.
Y'all don't know us from whatever else may be happening or what other banks are in town, and the banker that's been here for 100 years, and now this curly-haired guy's walking in here and everything else. And it truly goes, it's both ways when you're talking about starting your business and gaining trust, and then going in to a new place and getting trust. So,
well, it's neat to see you pushing it all. What advice would you give 20-year-old Dan that was sitting here now?
20-year-old Dan probably should have taken school more seriously. But we hit on that earlier. It's all the things that have been put in front of me. you take a little bit of that and everything else, and probably be like keeping notes. I'm not a big note person, and everyone wonders that, but I somewhat have a good memory, and so I don't remember some things, but a lot of things I'll do that, and it would probably be being more structured on that side of things of like, hey, you got to do this. There's a better way to do the vision and focus and not just jump out every single time that I have a crazy idea. One of our good friends that was in banking, he had retired. He called me up and said, hey, I think you got to talk to my daughter. She's looking at getting out of mortgage and everything else. And so I call up Alan and I tell her, like, hey, let's go have a drink and let's talk about this. And we're sitting there and she's, well, what do you think the next step is? And I'm like, I think the next step is you quit and we open up a mortgage business. And she's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, we're going to do this. And so
you're hitting on one of the points that I think that one of my talents is, and it's finding good people.
Yeah.
And you listen to what they say, and then you create a position within your organization and you hire them.
For sure.
And that's priceless.
Yes.
And it takes a talented person to be able to recognize that one of your, future coworkers is able to be successful in that position. And you listen to it, and then you go find them out, and you eat lunch with them, and you make a new position for them.
Right then, yeah. And that's moving quickly.
That is talent.
It may be talent, but it's also a lot of luck, is what I always tell myself.
It is, but it's natural you.
Yeah.
And you can't put a price on that.
But, you say that, you can't put a price on it, but when we bring in our new employees, whether it's a new lender, whether it's a new part-time teller, and we do this monthly onboarding, we go through those same steps, and I teach them, I don't teach. I tell them, you got to trust, and you got to trust in the vision, the program, and everything else. And I know it may sound crazy, but there is an outcome here that we're trying to achieve. And the thing, if you don't achieve it, you got to be just as quick to say, hey, we screwed up, or no, we can't do that, and we need to revert and go back to this direction, and those type things. And that's another huge thing I think is people starting out in business is like everything that you try to hit, every home run you hit, you're not going to.
No, but
you're going to miss a lot.
Keep swinging.
Well, keep swinging for sure, but also get back in the batter's box.
I always wonder, I don't know how we're going to wrap up, but I always wonder how y'all keep, or a bank keeps, security on website stuff. Is it a constant nightmare?
So recently.
And what does a bank spend on this technology? You have your own people in-house?
No, we do. We have two information or IT officers. One's kind of like director of support, and then we have our chief information officer, Andy Howard, who's great. He came from Texas Tech, and he's over the network and those type of things. And then we have a company outside of that I call the IT nerds that I'm gonna have lunch with today, and they want me to go play golf with them this afternoon, but I can't imagine they're very good.
But
that's to you, Mr. Baucom.
Is it hundreds of thousands a year to keep that thing?
It is so expensive, and that's back to regulations and the things. The banking industry, and for all you listeners out there that banks get hacked or anything else. I mean, every day we're fighting fraud. This year alone, I think last year we had 1.3 million fraud attempts, and I think we lost $56,000 last year, which is huge for us. And we track that. I'm looking at that on a monthly basis. We have a whole fraud department. We have a fraud team. We brought over Sarah, who is at a $25 billion company. And that's back to your point of finding that person and doing it. They call and say, this lady's the best fraud expert. And I'm not going to say her last name because I don't want someone to go steal her from me. But it's that deal. And she knows everything. The other, you're talking about just the infrastructure of networks. Our ATM 2 weeks ago out on 82nd, smash and grab. Someone tried to come up and rip it off and do that thing, and that's a whole process we're working through. But daily, people are trying to get into your system and that. But the government, this is back to the listeners on this, they have us so highly regulated that, and I wish all businesses were this way. Like, we have multi-factor authentication. I've got a password that's, 28 characters long, that's a passphrase, and we implement all those things. And that's one thing I'm too. It's like, you tell me the rules, we're going to follow the rules, and we're going to get there and do those things. But putting those steps in place prior to saves you so much money, and it's a headache. I told everyone, hey, we're about to go to passphrases. I know your 8-character password, you love it, but it's password 1. It's not. You can't do that, right, Andy? But it's a passphrase. Everyone's like, what do you mean? I'm like, type in, I'm not going to say mine, but whatever it may be, and that's your password. And you're going to get used to it. And yeah, it stinks, but it keeps us secure. And when you're breached, I mean, it's just a nightmare. You hear the horror stories of it. But check fraud, Zelle, P2P payments, all those things daily. And so this year we've already had, I said last year was 1.3. This year we've had already $400,000 in attempts when I was looking at the report yesterday. And, we've lost $40,000. So, and it's stuff you just you don't see coming. There's, just like on returning a check, there's timelines when you can do that to send back to the bank that actually cashed that check on one of your customers that someone stole out of a mailbox.
We had that happen once.
Yeah, and so
we had that happen.
We get you set up on drawing a blank right now, but what do we put you on? Account analysis, and you guys are on there now. Y'all can see those checks in a right as you're written.
Yeah,
like, that's not made to Dan Odom.
Guy steal a check out of a mailbox and cash it.
And people don't believe that happens still, and it does. And
$6,500 too.
You go to these conferences, and they're talking about like check writing is so far down and check fraud so far up, because now if you're writing a check, you're writing a $12,000 check for your food and beverage or whatever it may be.
$28,000 last week at Seafood and Spaghetti Works.
So $28,000, and that's so. Now think if someone gets a hold of that check and goes make it fraudulent, that's $28,000 that's coming through ours, and so positive pay. That's the word I was looking for. We put you on that, and it's a great tool. So,
well, all right. Well, we do have to wrap it up. I have enjoyed your story of Western Bank. I actually didn't. I know a lot about y'all, but I didn't know all of this, and it obviously looking at what you're doing, you got knowledge as a young age to start doing this and build it, but you've built an incredible business, and I can't wait to see where it's going. And it's already got afterburners behind it and been going, but somebody's got to steer the ship and put all these processes in place, as the hiring, and it's nice to see what you do on a day-to-day basis, and it's not easy.
It's not easy, but our team, man, shout out to all of them. I mean, and it's all now, we talked about it, 34 employees. I don't think we hit on it. Now we've got 152 employees.
Dang.
And it's crazy, but it's every single one of those team members, from the part-time, from the front staff, all the way to the top. And they're the ones that make this thing go round. And you can say, Dan, you steered the ship, but those people trusted me.
Somebody's got to paddle.
Yeah, someone's paddling, someone's carrying all the load, and they're doing that right now. And I mean, I can't give enough kudos to those folks.
Yeah.
They're great.
Where would people get a hold of you or find you?
Where would they find me?
Yeah, it's westernbank.com.
No, that's another funny story real quick on that. I know we're wrapping this up, but so banks, you're talking about that, what it costs to run all that. Everybody's .com. Governments have .gov. Well, banking, and I think it was like 2016, 17, somewhere out there, they came up with .bank. And so now I've got the Swaggin' Wagon. I don't know if you've seen our Subaru that runs around.
Oh, I did see that the other day.
Yeah, we're about to push that whole thing, and but it's western.bank. But Andy's going to kill me for that, because I went out, and a week ago, we bought it, western.bank. It came available, and I immediately went and put it on the cars. And he's like, man, it's not even live yet. What are you doing? And I'm like,
all right.
But that is a secure process as a customer and those folks that are out there. But it's westernbank.com right now. Eventually, you'll be able to go to western.bank, and we're out there. I mean, our number's on there. We're one of the ones, like, we're an open door policy. You walk in, you're just as likely to get to talk to me as you are one of our lenders, and then we're going to talk about your business, and I'm like, hey, this guy would be a good pair with you. And I think we do a really well job of that. John and Chris, pairing folks up with, like, you know what, Tommy matches, his personality matches better with Dan or with Chad or with Chris or with, whoever it may be in there. And we've done a good job, too, of growing our junior loan officers and bringing them up and handing them over and saying, hey, take care of Tommy, because John's plate gets full, or whoever's or mine or whatever. I'm like, hey, man, I still got to get you quick answers and those type of things, but they can bird dog it for us. And so, western.com, westernbank.com. Give it about 20 days. I'm going to push Andy when I get out of here to western.bank. But yeah, man, any of our locations, and I would say that across Texas, hit us up. We have great people in all of them.
Texas. Y'all are going to be in New Braunfels before too long.
Yeah, Hill Country's good. It's growing and blowing. I can't give my secrets away.
Fredericksburg, though.
Oh, Fredericksburg's great, man. 2 million of your best friends every weekend.
Kyle Park lives in Fredericksburg. Shout out to him, the country singer.
Okay, you know me in music, man. I'm not good at music.
Anyway, well, appreciate you being here. It was a pleasure. I'm glad we finally got this done.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you.
I would have liked the videos of the plane coming into the airport if you came to Seguin, but that's hard to get past the board.
I'm going to go shoot a podcast, guys. You're cool.
Yeah. All right, well, let's wrap it up. Appreciate it, Dan.
Yeah, one last applause, man. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
We got to go out with music, then the applause.
Oh, there's your music.
Thank y'all for listening. There we go.
There you go.
Wrap it up.
And you can adjust how loud it goes.
I think it should be louder though, man. We got to get this going.
Where is the applause? Yeah.
All the clicks.
Yeah. All right, let's get to work. I got to go. I've been so busy with the podcast this week and running the kids that I'm not getting a lot of work done here. And I'm exhausted from these things take time and a little bit of brain energy. But man, I got to get some work done, the chiropractor, all kinds of shit before I hit the road. So
Thanks for having me.
we're out of here. We enjoyed it. Thanks, Dan.